Hello, friends. My name is Xiomara Mayo Ingram, and like every Thursday at 8 o'clock, I welcome you to our emotional cafe session. Tonight's love relations is a topic that we're going to be talking, and you might imagine that it has to do with the fact that next Sunday it's going to be Valentine's Day, and it's the day that people tend to celebrate love and friendship. I particularly think it's a commercial date, but again, it is pretty much what everybody's celebrating. So I thought it was a good opportunity to come and share with you a little bit about relationships and specific tips to help you make your relationship stronger. As usual, here I have my coffee. I hope you got yours too. And like every session, I want to remind you a couple of things. We are very happy and satisfied with the people who have subscribed to our newsletter. Our newsletter, we have already sent both January and February's edition, but you still have time to catch up. You still have time to subscribe and be able to continue getting this. It's a digital version that you're going to be getting by email. It is very important when you subscribe, you're going to be receiving a welcome email that asks you to opt to confirm your subscription. It is extremely important that you do this. And the reason why I am explaining this is because I've had some people contacting me saying I didn't get the newsletter. I subscribed but didn't get it. And what has happened is that they actually subscribed, they put their email address on our little newsletter form, but then they have received the email and they have not clicked on the link, which is the step to confirm your subscription. While you're not doing this, the server, the automatic server that will be sending the newsletter, won't be able to include you when they're sending the newsletter. So this is extremely important that you go ahead and continue with step number 2, which will be to click on the link on the welcome email so you can confirm your subscription. After that, automatically you will be getting it every month. I also want to remind you that at any time that you feel like it, you can unsubscribe. So it's not something that you have to continuously do if you don't feel like it. So we're very open about that. But so far, the content has been amazing. People are really happy about what we are sharing through the newsletter. And we're trying to keep it different from what you see on our website. So on our website, you get to see articles and you get to see the videos from past sessions and all that. But the content that we're having for the newsletter, we're trying to keep it exclusive for the newsletter, so you actually have an extra benefit by subscribing to the newsletter. I also want to remind you that you can follow us on the social media, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram, on Twitter, and visit our webpage. In our webpage, you're going to be able to find different articles. You're going to be able to find all the sessions are already there, the videos of past sessions. And also every Thursday, we have the live session in which I also want to remind you that you get to participate via chat. You can ask your questions and I will be able to answer them. Let's make sure that our chat is working. So all you need to do is come and join us 8 o'clock Eastern time, and it doesn't matter where you are. If you can catch up, you can ask your questions and participate of the session live via chat. But if not, you can always catch up later with the videos. So just remember that these are some of the features that we are sharing with you through our Emotional Cafe, a virtual platform for everybody, regardless the place or the time, when you can access at all times and enjoy all the different topics that we'll be doing there. Also remind you that you can also be part of Emotional Cafe with your donations. You are the reasons why we have been able to have it totally free for everybody to have access to it. So we need your help. It can be a one-time donation. You can be one of our sponsors. You can promote your services or businesses, whatever it is that you provide, and we'll be glad to include you in our directory of services. So go and check out our webpage, the www.emotionalcafe.com, and see what we have for you and see how you can benefit from our wonderful platform. And without any other reminders. I hope I didn't forget anything, but if so, at the end of the session, I'll be able to share it with you. Let's talk about love relations. And in order to understand about love relations, we need to understand what the word relation really stands for. And there are different definitions that I have for you tonight. The way in which two or more concepts, objects, or people are connected. So we're talking about connections. A thing that is that has an effect on or it's relevant to another. It's also a person who's connected by blood or marriage, like a kinsman or a kinswoman. There's also another definition that says that relations are the various connections between people, places, or things. An existing connection, a significant association between or among things or among people. The way in which two or more people or groups or countries talk to each other, behave towards and deal with each other. The way in which two or more things are connected. And another definition is a person who's a member of your family. Now, if I was to describe, and I'm trying to come up with one word definition, we can say that relations are connection, relationship, association, link, correlation, correspondence, parallel, alliance, a bond, interrelation, interconnection, and interaction. All these words are related somehow to the word relations. And we as human beings, there are all kinds of relations that we are going to establish along our life. Some will be working relations, some will be sexual relations, some will be love relations, family relations, and so it goes. But the ones that we're going to be talking about on this specific session is couples relations, a love relationships. And again, I think that considering the day that we're at, it's a perfect timing for us to look at relationships from a different perspective. Now, the first thing that I want to share with you is the importance of defining your relationship. A good relationship is not the one that doesn't have any problems. Some people think when we say we have a good relationship or make stronger relationship, they think that you're talking about not having a problem at all. And that's not what we are referring to. A good relation is not the one with no problems, but rather than that, it's the one that knows how to face and deal with their conflicts whenever these arise. That's what makes the difference. Problems are always going to arise. There will always be some issues. There will always be some different things that will be affecting the relationship, but the most important thing is how we deal with those issues, how we deal with those things, how we face them. Now, a love relation, it's very important because when you love someone and you have a relationship with this person, this might be the person that you spend most time with. It's a person that you grow together, you get to know each other. We usually say that is the person that knows me the most, or I know this person the most. And therefore, it's a person that really has quite an impact in our life. It has some sort of influence. So it is important to know that simply because there are two people in a relationship that comes from different backgrounds, that come from different educations and maybe different families as well, conflicts will arise either from the inside, and this is due to communication problems or misunderstanding or something like that, or maybe something that happens externally and yet has some sort of impact on the relationship. So this is important that we know. As I said before, in a relationship, it's never going to be perfect. There will be conflicts, there will be issues, there will be situations. But what makes the difference between a good and a bad relation is pretty much how you deal with these issues, how you cope with these conflicts, and how you are able to face them and simply overcome those. Now, another thing that I like to do when I am assisting couples when they come and work with me has to do with a relationship inventory. I like talking about the areas of a relationship and the importance of nurturing and looking at each one of these areas. These areas are communication, intimacy, social life, the common activities or interests as a couple, spiritual, financial, and other important relations with other people, such as family members and friends. Every single couple in the relationship has all these areas, and these areas are having an impact in how good or how great the relationship might be. And the way that I work with couples when I'm doing this with them is that I have them look separately, each one of them look at each one of these areas. Communication, how's our communication? And for each area, they need to actually outline the strength, the weakness, and they have to address what I would like it to be, how I would like our communication to be. So for communication, they need to actually outline strength, weaknesses, and what I wish or what I would like it to be. Same thing for intimacy, our sex life, our social life, our common interest or hobbies, or what do we do as a couple together, a spiritual area, in our finances, and how we want to be able to interact and relate with other family members and friends. So they look at all these. And this is amazing because sometimes it's just funny to find out how two people want the same thing, how they are both probably complaining about not having this or not having that, and how they wish they have a better communication or that they could talk more often or something. And it's just amazing when I am assisting them, when we go over each one of their inventories from each one of their perspective, how sometimes they want the same and they don't even realize it. They don't even know that they pretty much wish the same thing, and just the lack of communication doesn't let them see beyond what it's their issues. So this is a great exercise that I always recommend couples to go over and do it. Again, it's not with the goal of pointing fingers or saying we don't talk or you don't do this or you don't do that. Rather than that, it's just an objective way to look at our relationships from all the different angles and to be able to be honest and say, well, we're very strong when it comes to this. We need to improve this, and I wish we could have this. So these are amazing exercises that help the relationship grow, mature, and especially kind of rechannel it down the path that the couple feels satisfied and feels better about the relationship. So I think that is a great tip that I can pass to you on today's session, to go over the inventory with your couple, with your spouse, with your loved one separately. It is important that you don't see what they're writing and that they don't see what you're writing, because that's the beauty of it. When we come together to look at it and grow from it. Now, also, when we're talking about relationships, it is important to know about life project, having relationship goals. And usually we associate the word project to the working field, but the truth is that when it comes to relationship, a life project means long-term plans that are common to the two of you. So this implies very important aspects such as shared plans. You know how you're single and or when you're living alone, or in case that you're coming from a different relationship, when you're divorced and you're kind of putting your life back together, maybe you have some plans. But when you are in a relationship, it's not about only you anymore. So you need to share your plans. You need to come up with shared plans that both of you want to be able to see and accomplish together. This is amazing how it unites the couple, how makes the relationship stronger. So sharing plans is part of the life project of a relationship. Decision-making process together, making the decisions together, talking it out, talking about what is it that you're going to do, what is it that you want to accomplish, where is it that you want to move, what do you want to be able to do with your kids? What do you want to save? And all these different aspects, you talk about it and then you make a decision together. It is very important that you don't see making a decision with your spouse or your loved one as a power struggle, as something that you guys are going to be either winning or losing. Oh, if I let her give me her opinion, then she's the winning. She's the one that is winning. No, it's not about winning or losing. This is about plans together and making decisions together. The two of you are important for that relationship. So it is extremely important that the two of you get to make your decisions together. Relationship consolidation. Life project solidifies the relationship. Having a life project, being able to see down the road, being able to see yourself with that person in the long term, in the long run, it's something that makes you feel that you are part of something, that you belong to something really strong. So it really solidifies the relationship. And also the aspect of effective communication. There's no way you can have a life project without implementing an effective communication. Effective communication, we did a whole session last week about that with amazing aspects, and we even did talk about some specific tips for relationships communication. So try to go back and take notes on that, because it is very important that you understand what effective communication is about. Because in order to have a life project, in order to have a strong relationship, you need to practice effective communication pretty much every day, pretty much for all aspects of it. So again, talking about life project has to do with sharing plans, decision making together, solidifying the relationship, and practicing effective communication. Now, important considerations when we are in a relationship. This is important when you are already in, if you're already in a relationship, or if you're planning to be in a relationship, or if right now you're alone, but eventually down the road you want to have a relationship. These are important considerations at all times. You need to know your needs. You need to know what's important for you. You need to know if your needs are healthy, if they're normal, or which needs you might have that are not healthy. So you need to deal with those. You don't bring those to the relationship, but you find the professional assistance that you need in order to deal with your own unhealthy needs. But it is important to know what is it that you want, what is it that you need, because otherwise you might find yourself in a relationship for the wrong reasons, or you might find yourself pretty much sabotaging the relationship because you don't think it's going to work, and it has to do with very unhealthy needs or very unrealistic needs. So know your own needs is the number one important consideration. Know your fears. What is your worst enemy? Your fears are your worst enemy, and they interfere with the success in a relationship. If it can affect you in a way that it controls the way you act, it just controls how you feel. So you need to know your fears, and these are important things to know and be able to share with your loved one. Both your needs and your fears, these are things that you need to be able to tell the person that you love, so they are aware of how you feel about things. But you need to be able to look at those fears in order to overcome them. Otherwise, fear will block you. It will abstain you and keep you from being able to have a great relationship and enjoy it. So know your fears is the second important consideration. Now, the third one is to know your expectations. What kind of relationship you wish to have? What do you expect from that relationship? What do you expect from that person? What is unacceptable for you? How do you expect the other person to act? How do you expect the other person to treat you? You need to share this with your partners. Also, you need to be able to look at your expectations and know if you are being realistic or not. And this is huge. This is the moment that I want to share with you. I had there's this movie that I always loved, and I used to use it to illustrate some couples as I was assisting them, some non-realistic expectations. And this movie that is very, very well known, it's about a girl who lost her long-term memory, and the guy is supposed to have her fall in love with him every day. And it's just amazing because since she couldn't remember that she met him the day before, he will have to go over different situations trying to connect with her, trying to meet her, and then trying to make her fall in love with her. But by the time that she gets to connect with him, it's almost the end of the day, and he has to go over it every single day. Now, some people would say, wow, that is awesome. That's the way it should be, that my loved one kind of shows me his love, shows me that I'm special, and try to make me fall in love with him or in love with her every single day. Well, this is the funny part, that as beautiful as it sounds, and all the kind of little details that he had to have, by the end of the movie, he created a video for her when she woke up every morning to watch. Why? Because it was not realistic to expect that he was going to spend the rest of his life trying to make her fall in love and going through all these different things all over again. It's just not realistic. So at the end, he had to create a video so she would go over the video and watch it and feel whatever she was feeling, and then she could go and integrate to the real life. And this is the illustration that I used to have with the couples as I was assisting them. We need to know what is realistic, what can be done, what is it that we are capable of doing throughout the years, and what is not. Because sometimes I have people tell me, oh, he has changed so much, he's not the one, he's not like how he used to be 10 years ago. Of course he's not. It's been 10 years. You are not the person that you used to be 10 years ago either. So we need to be mindful of these things, because sometimes we come with these expectations that are simply totally unrealistic, and that's the point here. So that's why I use the illustration, for you to see that there will be things that is just impossible, and these are expectations that are not realistic. So know your expectations and share them with your loved ones, so they also know what you expect from the relationship and what you expect from them. And learn and change is the final important consideration when you are in a relationship. You need to be willing to learn and change. You need to be aware that a relationship is like a field in which you go learning not only about the other person, but you get to learn a lot about yourself, and you need to be willing to change those things that you need to change in order to help you grow emotionally and learn much more and continue developing yourself. You both need to make adjustments, but you cannot control anybody. You cannot make anybody change. So it's your responsibility to kind of be willing to learn and change whatever you need to change, because you can only be responsible of yourself and you can only change yourself. So know your needs, know your fears, know your expectations, and learn and change. And the most important thing, don't forget to share your needs, your fears, and your expectations with your loved one. Effective communication is about being able to express how we feel, being able to express what I think, and being able to be open to listen to what the other person has to say as well. Remember, relationship is something that involves two people, not only you. Now, every single relationship goes through different stages, and it's also important that we know what these stages are. These are common stages. Some people say there are 10 stages, or some people say there are 4 stages, but these are pretty much the common stages that show the whole spectrum of relationships, and I wanted to share them with you so you can also be realistic about what to expect in each stage of your relationship. Because as I was saying, some people might say, oh, it's not how you used to be 20 years ago. And again, of course it's not gonna be, because it's been 20 years. So some relationships, they might evolve faster, they might change faster, others will go slower, but they all evolve and change. They don't remain static. This is important that we know, because the stage one is the initial phase, is the infatuation, the romantic love, the romance, getting to know one another. That is the stage in which we feel that nothing can go wrong and that we have found the love of our lives. So we got all this infatuation, and that's totally normal because it's the first stage. So you're getting to know, it's the unknown, all new things to your life and all these feelings and emotions. So that's totally perfect. But that's only stage one. The second stage, it's the landing phase. It's what's called reality stage. It's also known as a more realistic love, and it can be the power struggle phase. And this is sometimes the stage in which some relationships simply don't make it, because once that the whole romance kind of comes down and we're in a more realistic relationship, then we kind of start seeing things the way they are, and we start having some differences, and we start defining who we are and who the other person is. And then sometimes some people, when they are not growing emotionally, they might end up being in a power struggle and thinking that it's a matter of who's going to win and who's going to lose. So that might be a reason why they don't make it later on. But this is a more realistic stage in which we feel a more realistic love, in which we kind of see the goods and the bad, but we kind of start loving with our eyes open. Now, the third stage is the stability stage, which is a more mature love. This is a phase in which our kids are growing and we go growing as a couple. This is also another important stage in which many don't simply, they just give up, or they just decide that they want something else. It has to do a lot with their unrealistic expectations. It has to do a lot with being not feeling satisfied in a relationship, but having serious issues when it comes to communication. So they cannot express, they cannot say what is it that they want to improve, and they don't assume responsibility. So that's part of why a couple start feeling kind of disconnected on the stability mature love stage. Now, the stage number 4, the fourth stage, is the commitment stage. And this is the part in which a couple kind of realizes that they want to do this, that they have a project together, that they have a family, that this is something that they really want to be able to save and keep it growing and protect. So it's more like a commitment. It is a moment in which they realize what's real, and this is what they want. It usually comes after being together for over 10-15 years, and it also has to do with a more mature age, so we feel more vulnerable and more sensitive about life and all the different aspects of life, and therefore we kind of have a different appreciation for the relationship and the person that we're with. And the final stage, which is the bliss, the co-creation stage, is what some people call the real love, the real thing stage, because this is the moment when sometimes the kids are gone, and it's when we find the empty nest, and we need to kind of connect again with this person that we've been living for 20 years, 25 years, who knows if longer. But this is the part when you realize that after everything has pass you by, this is what remains, and therefore it is the real love, because this is going down the path pretty much to the death do us part. So those are the stages. It is important to know the stages, because sometimes again we confuse the stage that we're in, and we think that we are in a non-satisfactory relationship when we are just simply going through some changes and moving from one stage to the next. So just keep that in mind. Also, another thing that I want to be able to share with you is the difference between love and dependency, because some people tend to confuse love with depending from someone. And I have a couple of questions that I put together here for you to brainstorm, just for you to know and Because sometimes you say, I truly, truly love this person, but sometimes it has to do with needing or depending on a person rather than actual love. So some of these questions are, have you kept some of your previous friends from before being in the relationship? Are you the type of person that simply stop hanging out with their friends and start being friends to whatever your loved ones' friends are in order to have that new circle of friends and forget about the old ones? So you find yourself that you don't have any of your friends with you anymore? Do you have a hobby or interest regardless if it's shared or not? Are you part of a group or do you interact with other people besides your significant one? Do you have a favorite spot at home which you consider yours to have moments alone with yourself? Do you watch the shows, the movies, or listen to the music that you like or that your loved one likes? Do you eat what you like? Or are you the type of person that when your spouse say what you would like to eat, you say whatever you want, my dear? These are important questions because it actually makes you realize how sometimes we lose ourselves in the relationship instead of being able to say, oh, I'm dying to eat Chinese. That's what I want to eat tonight. Okay? It's my turn. Maybe next time it'll be yours. That's what relationships are about. Do you know all your spouse or partner's friends? Do you have something new to tell your spouse or partner right now, regardless how irrelevant it might be? Do you feel that you need a moment alone? And do you feel that you overly enjoy those moments alone? Do you remember what it means to be me instead of an us? These are important questions because if you're starting to feel like this, if you have answered yes to some of these questions, maybe you're starting to feel a little bit suffocated in the relationship and you need to kind of reconsider your actions and your choices and talk to your spouse, your partner, your significant one about it because you need to be able to know who you are and who's your loved one, where he or she ends and where you start, and not to become just their shadow, maybe just an extension. That's how I call it. Don't become an extension of the person that you love. You need to be yourself, and that's pretty much what attracted that person in the first place. So keep that in mind because sometimes we tend to forget and we tend to lose ourselves in a relationship, and that is not healthy at all. Now, recommendations to solidify a relationship, recommendations to maintain a relationship, to make it stronger, to make it work. And these are recommendations to be done over and over again. It's not something for you to do once and then just let go. This is for you to implement them and to adopt them and make them part of your relationship and part of your life. The first one, create your own dynamic. Each relationship has their own dynamic. It is important that you create your own, the one that works for you, the one that you feel comfortable and satisfied with. But you need to realize your dynamic. If you don't talk, if every time they're going to talk you end up arguing, you need to change that dynamic because eventually it's going to have a negative impact on the way you feel. So these are dynamics that you need to kind of be aware of, how you treat each other, how you act, how you manage the situation, and create the dynamic that you want. And this is something that you can do also, sitting down and talking about it with your loved one. Number 2, argue without fighting. We were talking about effective communication last week when I was just mentioning how you don't need to fight, how you don't need to raise your voice. You can argue, you can say how you feel, you can say you're upset, you can say that you're mad, but it doesn't necessarily means that you have to fight. Be able to express how you feel, be able to express your emotion, but always remember to control the way you feel. When you yell, when you start fighting, you're just showing that you're losing it. And pretty much people tend to block. They tend to close themselves, not to be open to whatever you're saying. So argue without fighting. Be able to express your anger without having to disrespect the person that you love, that is important for you, and that later you're going to have to deal with the words that came out of your mouth or the way that you acted. Number 3, make decisions together. We were talking about life project and the importance of making decisions together. Making decisions together, sometimes it's something that you have to decide, but it's just amazing when you go to that person you love and you talk about it and you make them part of that decision. They feel part of it. They feel that you two are deciding it together. That makes them feel that you guys are a team, that you're a couple. So make decisions together. It's another recommendation. Make up without resentment. Let's say that you had some differences, some sort of argument, and it's time to make up. It's time to put it aside and move on. Put your resentments away. Learn to forgive. If you still hook up to the same thing and it's still an issue for you, find your support system to deal with that. Find professional help. Go to a group. Talk to a friend about it. But if you're going to forgive the person, if you're going to get past an argument, don't bring the resentment along and keep going on and on and on with the same thing. It deteriorates the relationship. So you need to learn to forgive and put it aside. And again, if it continues to be an issue for you, get some help. There's great help. You can find help. So you deal with that, but don't bring it along into the relationship again, since it's been already something that was discussed and argued and put aside, and move on. The number 5 recommendation is going to be maintain the flame. It's just amazing how we just forget about ourselves and we start overeating and we stop working out, and then we don't pay attention to our physical appearance. It is important to try to keep the person that you're with interested in you as much as this person should be keeping your interest as well. Maintain the flame, keep the passion alive, and it's up to you. To both of you, not to only one, but both of you. And this is important. This is an important aspect of the relationship. I always said intimacy, it goes beyond sex. It has to do with the connection. It has to do with the emotional intimacy of being able to talk and have a nice way to treat each other throughout the day. So keep the flame going. Look for different ways in which you can keep the passion going so you continue feeling interested in your relationship. Number 6, effective communication. I've been saying this over and over. Effective and assertive communication, it is huge. Because again, how are you going to be able to deal with issues like, maintaining the flame or arguing without fighting if we don't talk about it, if we don't share about it, if we don't say what our positions are and how we feel? So effective communication is a key element to any relationship that works. Respect and trust. This is huge. Respecting the person that you're with and trusting that person, showing them that we trust. But at the same time, and this is something that I work when I'm assisting couples, it's not only about that he or she trusts you. You also need to be earning that trust. You need to act accordingly to that trust. So respect and trust is a two-way street. It's not only that they give you respect and trust, but also that you give respect and trust and you earn that respect and trust as well. Spend quality time together. This is huge. You need to find those specific times in which you and your loved one can actually enjoy each other and can actually feel that you have your us time, quality time. Get away, go have a picnic, go to the park, go take a walk, go have dinner, do different things that will kind of make you feel into the whole relationship kind of more connected, and this comes with quality time together. Also, independence and autonomy. You need to love the other person, but you need to know who you are. You need to be able to keep your autonomy, your independence. That doesn't mean that you're going to go and live your life all by yourself, but it means that you still know who you are, that you still have a sense of being able to do whatever is it that you need to do, even if your loved one is not with you at that moment. Because it's just amazing how we develop this dependency, and we feel then that we're not taking it into consideration because I needed to do this and I was waiting for you and you didn't come to take me. And then they say, but you could have gone all by yourself and take care of that and then come back home and enjoy our time together. So keep your independence and autonomy means that you pretty much understand who you are aside from the person that you love. Another recommendation, learn to accept that you won't see eye to eye all the time. We don't have to agree all the time. We don't have to think the same thing. We don't have to see things the same way all the time. But that doesn't mean that I love you less. That doesn't mean that I care less about this relationship. It just simply means that we're two different people that have different opinions. We don't have to argue about it. It doesn't have to be a huge thing. But you need to know this. You don't have to see eye to eye at all times. So learn to accept that. Appreciation. How much appreciation are you showing the person you love? How much appreciation are you showing? And being grateful about having that person in your life, about the details that person have for you, about the provisions that he or she makes. What kind of appreciation are you showing? This is also important, and it has a very positive impact on a relationship. Always weigh the positive over the negative. Don't go picking every single negative thing over and over and over. Try to keep your attention towards the positive. Try to emphasize on the positive. Try to appreciate everything that is positive, so then you're reinforcing this behavior or these details or whatever it is that it's actually that positive for you or that important for you. So always weigh the positive over the negative. Pick your fights. You need to learn when it's important to bring this argument, have this discussion, and when just simply let it go. Just there are things that are not even worth the sweat, the discussion, or the timing. There's just things that you just need to understand they're not important at all. So you need to kind of practice, and you can define this with your spouse, with your loved one, what is really important, what is something that we really need to sit down and talk about it, and what is really not such a big deal. Why you need to talk about this with your spouse, with your loved one? Because you don't want them to feel disrespected when they are bringing something in to the table for you to discuss and you're thinking, oh, that's not important. You need to be able to let them understand that you are kind of putting your priorities to other stuff that are really, really important, that needs to be addressed, but there are insignificant details that are not worth that neither one of you gets upset over. So, but have the conversation so you can clarify this even before it happens, and as it goes happening, then the two of you can kind of solve it together. Do not compare to others. You know how they say that you're always looking at that the neighbor's grass is always greener than the one on your backyard. Well, we say it in Spanish, and I pretty much understand that you have it in English as well, which means that we're always looking at what others have, and we're always considering that it's better than ours, or the relationship is best, or look at that amazing husband that this person has, or this great wife. And when we go comparing ourselves to others, we're just not being grateful about the life we have, and we're always going to be feeling unsatisfied and unhappy. You need to be yourself, and there's only you, and there's only him, or there's only her. Don't compare your relationship to the neighbor's relationship or your best friend's relationship. All relationships are different, and it has to do with who you are and the person you love. So do not compare. Don't do that to yourself. Don't do that to your relationship. It's awful, and many people cannot overcome that kind of comparison. So keep that in mind. And the last recommendation to maintain your relationship and make it stronger every time is to keep the spotlight on yourself. That means you make changes that you need to make. Don't go putting the spotlight on someone else in order to avoid looking at yourself. In every situation, look at your responsibility, look at what you could have done differently, what you can do more, what you need to do less, and be willing to have and do whatever changes you need to make. Finally, I want to be able to share with you some aspects that we usually overlook when we're talking about relationship, and I have come to understand and have been able to work with couples when I'm assisting them how important these aspects are. Commitment. A relationship implies a commitment. You need to be able to commit to well, this is a live session, so if you're watching, I just got a beautiful detail from my husband. Thank you, honey. I love you too. A paper flower. So this is the kind of things that happen in a live session, so you never know what might happen, so you don't want to miss it, because here I am and I'm trying to, not to cry in order to be able to wrap up my session. But this is the kind of details that simply make us laugh and make us understand that we have a great thing. And sometimes all it takes is a paper rose. So keep that in mind. Commitment is an important aspect. When we are in a relationship, we need to have a sense of commitment. It's not a sense of having a sense of commitment means that whenever things get tough, we don't run away. We stick to it and we fight for it and we figure it out together. That's what commitment is about. Service. It's not about only you. You need to also be aware of this other person and how you're serving this other person. Service means that you're humble enough to show your appreciation and your love, and you do things for this person as well as this person does things for you. Loyalty. Being loyal is huge, especially nowadays when people have no loyalty whatsoever. So loyalty is another important aspect when it comes to a relationship. Willingness, the willingness to change, the willingness to work things out, the willingness to talk about things. Being receptive and open makes a huge difference in a relationship. So be receptive, be open when your spouse or your loved one tells you things that are actually affecting them. Be a good listener. Listen and try to adapt and adjust. Awareness and accepting of changes. It is extremely important that we accept that everything changes, including the relationship, including you and that person that you love. So be aware of changes and accept these changes so you can move with the cycle as it goes. And finally, another important aspect is the emotional growth, growing together emotionally. Otherwise, one of you gets stuck and simply gets behind, and then someone else continues growing and you're left behind, and that also disconnects you from the person that you love. So growing emotionally as a team together makes the relationship way stronger. Well, my friends, I haven't had any question today, so I'm gonna wrap it up with my final ideas for you tonight. There's a misconception that relationships are difficult or that they have to be hard. It doesn't have to be like that. Society doesn't help us with the romantic songs and movies and soap operas showing a distortion when it comes to love, and it is the reason why many people are never satisfied with their relationships, because they're always looking at what the TV is showing or the movie is showing or what the song is saying, and therefore they don't feel satisfied with a realistic relationship. It is in a relationship when all our irrational beliefs learned throughout our growing years will tend to appear and act out. You need to be aware of this, or you'll end up repeating inappropriate patterns, and you're the only person that can have the power to break those patterns. Some people confuse love with dependency and emotional needs, and they think that love is just to have company. Be careful to bring your family history along to your relationship. You need to be able to write your own story with with the person that you love. Don't repeat what your parents did. Don't repeat what other people in your family did. That's the family history, but your story is something that you get to write every single day, and it depends on the choices that you make and how you decide to live your relationship. And finally, I need to say, as I always say when I'm working with different relationships or couples that come for me to assist them, that it takes two to make it work, and it takes two to make it fail. It's not someone's responsibility and only this person. It takes both of you to make it work, and it takes both of you to make it fail, to make it not work. So that's the conclusion that I want to leave for you. Just to look at your relationship again, the inventory. If you want to go back to the notes and take notes of this presentation, you can go back, if not later tonight, tomorrow, and you can watch the video and simply take notes, because these are all important aspects, and I wanted to share with you in order to help you improve your relationship if you are already in one, and if you're not, to kind of help you be prepared for when that special relationship comes to your life. Again, my name is Xiomara Mayo Ingram. It's been a great pleasure for me to share love relations today, and I hope to see you Thursday next week. Please remember to invite your friends, tell your family members, wherever they live around the world, it doesn't matter. Tell them about Emotional Cafe. Invite them to browse our page. Invite them to follow us through the social media. And I'll see you Thursday next week with another great topic. So until then, thank you.